Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 9th, 2019 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
Mr. Thomason?
Present.
4 present.
Would you all please stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We, during our agenda review, added Resolution 2319 with a motion by Mr. Guidarelli and a second by Mr. Signor, all voting in the affirmative. Ms. Marco, would you just read number 2319 that we added to the rest?
Call for bids to be open on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019 at 10 a.m. at the John F. Curtin Government Center, 1100 Sunrise Boulevard, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, to install and maintain site stabilization and erosion control measures for the proposed land of the new Highway Department and compost transfer facility.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Ms. Herrera has a motion that she would like to make.
I would make a motion to table resolution number 22 of 2019 from tonight's agenda.
Okay, so we have a motion to table our 2219, which is the authorization of budget transfers because of a potential error in the list. So if we could have a second for that, please.
I'll second.
Second by member Signor. So we have motion number 3 with the tabling of resolution 2219. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes to table.
Okay, thank you very much. And our first order of business this evening is a public hearing. Ms. Marco, would you read the public hearing, please?
Sure. To allow for a change of zone request from Sapone Group Management LLC as designee contact for Edward K. Kaufman for a property located at 2142 Hamburg Street, Rotterdam, New York, 12303, and is known as tax map number 59.7-8-10.11. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from B1 retail business to I1 light industrial for the construction of self-storage units.
Okay, anyone wants to be heard for public hearing one? Okay, anyone in the audience that maybe came late wants to be heard on public hearing one at this time? Anyone like to be heard on public hearing one at this time? Anyone like to be heard on public hearing one at this time? Okay, declare public hearing one closed. And move on to public comment, privilege of the floor.
There's nobody speaking.
No one for public comment. Anyone that may have come in late for public comment, privilege of the floor?
Last chance, Jack.
Anyone with a shirt to Rensselaer, no, yeah, cover that up. Just kidding. Anyone? Like, no? All right. Let's move into the resolutions. 119, please.
Adopt the meeting minutes from the December 12, 2018 Town Board meeting.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller-Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 119 passes. Resolution 219.
Reappoint Phil Eats as a member of the Town of Rotterdam Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller-Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 219 passes. Resolution 319.
Appoint individuals as members of the Town of Rotterdam 2020 Celebration Committee.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller-Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? So on the question, I'd just like to say we have received some inquiries from members of the public who want to participate in the 2020 celebration committee. What we're doing right now this evening, we're going to appoint a handful of people to the actual celebration committee, but from that there will be subcommittees appointed by that celebration committee. The committee is being led by our former receiver of taxes and county clerk John Woodward. So the meetings are posted on the town website, and we have meetings scheduled outside of my office to show you when we're going to be having those meetings. You can avail yourself and attend. There's a public meeting, and we'll start planning out what we're going to do to celebrate the town's 200th anniversary next year. There'll be some things that we'll be doing this year as well, but more details to follow. Okay. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll on 319, please?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
I need to explain my vote.
I'm sorry?
I need to explain my vote before I vote. I'm gonna vote yes on this because Steven Signore's on it, and he is my favorite celebration / party planner.
Okay. All right, I don't know what that means. But
So I'm gonna vote yes.
great.
Mr. Signor?
I don't know how I can say no to that. Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 319 passes. Resolution 419.
Appoint individuals as members of the Town of Rotterdam Extended Sick Leave Fund Committee.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera, second by Mr. Guidarelli.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 419 passes. Resolution 519.
Authorize the supervisor to negotiate and execute a contract with the BB Law Firm PPLC 514 Bishop Ferry Road, Clifton Park, New York, to represent the Town of Rotterdam related to tax litigation matters for the year of 2019.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Guidarelli, a second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 519 passes. Resolution 619.
Accept the amended proposal submitted by General Electric International Incorporated to the Schenectady County Solar Energy Centorium and authorizes the supervisor to execute all documents necessary to effectuate and enter into the Schenectady County Solar Energy Consortium Memorandum of Understanding with General Electric International Incorporated, a solar power purchase agreement, and the Solar Energy System Lease Agreement to provide for the procurement of solar energy.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 619 passes. Resolution 719.
Declare the town board as lead agency and authorize the town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all documents necessary to comply with NYCRR Part 617 and State Environmental Quality Review in connection with negotiations for the purchase of plus or minus 8.2 acres of the property for the construction of a highway garage, salt storage shed, and a compost facility.
Okay, a motion, please?
I'll move.
No.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera, second by Mr. Guidarelli.
Yes.
Was that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was trying.
Okay.
It was,
You're a little slow tonight.
I was trying to take
Yeah.
it back. It
All
was
right.
second.
Yeah, this isn't Jeopardy where you get.
I didn't even have any coffee.
All right, so resolution 719, a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera and a second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 719 passes. So now we have a consent item, so I don't want to have, it's really not necessary for the town clerk to read through all of them, so I'm just going to give you a very, very quick brief here. So these consent items authorize us to continue executing contract with Mr. Moore here for the televising and taping and televising, if you will, of our meetings, recording, I should say, and televising of our meetings. To appoint council members, our board here is the Board of Health for the town. Number 10 designates the Daily Gazette as a official newspaper. Authorizing the mileage expense of 58 cents a mile for reimbursement to town employees when a town vehicle is not available. Establishing petty cash funds and bank depositories for the town. The attendance of different trainings and schools, if you will, for the town employees. The authorization for the chief of police to transfer funds from asset forfeiture investigations. And then the filing of our annual report, the payments to employees for overtime and emergency situations, The establishment of water rents and contract assessments for 2018, appointing individuals to various part-time or seasonal positions, if you will, from everything from the Department of Public Works to the Senior Center. And then an amendment for just some housekeeping on a resolution we passed before regarding acceptance of insurance payments here. And then we have number 23, which Ms. Marco read into the record, having to do with the new highway property on Campbell Road. So we would like a motion for all of those, please.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so for resolutions 819 through 2119, and then also 2319. Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
Second?
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question on any of those resolutions?
I'm not so sure. Mr. Moore, I hope you're getting my good side every time.
Always.
I don't know. Wow, that's amazing. That was
There are no
amazing.
bad sides.
That was amazing. Yeah. This is just too much. It's the first meeting of the year.
This is what
Let's
happens
try
when
to-
Evan's not here to control all of us.
Evan,
He cracks the whip.
okay. We miss Evan, that's really what's going on here.
It keeps us all in order.
So we have a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera, second by Mr. Signor. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo is absent. Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, so resolutions 819 through 2119 and resolution 2319 passed this evening. Okay, under miscellaneous or committee reports, anyone this evening? I'd just like to briefly thank the board for a very productive 2018. 2019, we have a lot of projects on the floor here with work being done throughout our parks, with our water sewer infrastructure, the buildings and grounds. There's going to be a lot that will be accomplished this year. And I want to thank the board for their collaboration with each other as we move into 2019. I think 2019 will be even better than 2018 for us. We're moving in the right direction, I think, in the town. And when I say that, it really has to do with the board. Mr. Signor made reference at the last meeting of 2018 about that we get along, and I think that's really the biggest piece of this. This is not the town is not an easy thing to be involved in. In other words, being involved in government takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of people who have various skills, and we are very fortunate that the town has a lot of people who work for it that are very well trained, from the police department to our administrative end of our town, to water sewer maintenance, our highway department. We're fortunate. So I would like to, again, just thank the employees, thank the board for all of their efforts in 2018. And in 2019, we have a lot of work to do, so appreciate your efforts. Anyone else on anything this evening? We don't have an executive session, I don't think. I really don't like ending the meeting in 15 minutes. I think that's ridiculous. Anyone else have anything that they'd like to bring up? Any of the students in the audience have a question that they have a burning desire to ask this evening? Wow, no. So you're back in school. How are things going? They're going well? Good. Are you all seniors? Where are you going to school next year? Anyone ready for that question? Or this year?
American,
American?
Binghamton,
Binghamton?
Clarkson,
Clarkson?
Geneseo.
Not yet. No.
RPI,
Great.
still deciding. Not
Okay.
sure.
Roger
Alright.
Williams.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Very good. Wish you awesome year here for your graduation. Your senior year is important. You got a few more months to go, and be safe, do the right thing, and hopefully as you get to college, you have just a little bit of fun, but study. Please study.
Work hard and play hard.
Yeah, exactly. Wish you success.
Mr. Supervisor, I have one thing, and then I suppose I have a question for you that
Yeah.
can, once I ask, I'm sure you'll
Sure.
extend the meeting more than 15 minutes, but
Oh my God.
I just wanted to mention, I know there was a lot of discussion in and around town about people's driving during school bus pickup and drop-off times, and, I've had some discussions with the fine officers of our Rotterdam Police Department, and they've really been doing a great job cracking down on some of those issues and keeping an eye out and making sure patrols are in the right areas at the right times to kind of nip some of those issues in the bud. So I really appreciate their responsiveness and hope that if anyone has been having any further concerns in their neighborhoods where their kids get picked up or near the schools, that they're notifying the police department, who is definitely making an active effort to be on top of that and to enforce the traffic laws related to school buses. So.
Thank you. And then the school transportation departments and the folks who run those, and it's obviously the school bus drivers, they do report to their respective supervisors in the transportation departments at the schools, and that information does get back to our police department. And so it's important. It's not just grabbing a driver's license; it's the time and description and so on.
Yeah,
So
it does require some
license
investigation
plate
on the
car.
part of our police force,
does.
and they've been doing that. I drive around town pretty early. I'm out when the 7 o'clock buses are going by to the middle school and high school. I'm around when the elementary schools in Shawmut are getting picked up, and I've noticed an increased presence of our police force during those times and at places that residents have expressed concern about. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the point to be made is that it's going to be enforced. It's going to be enforced, so, hopefully people are paying attention and knowing that, if you're passing a stopped school bus when the red lights are flashing, you're really taking a big chance because, we're out there, we're looking at it, so it's not something we're taking lightly, so.
And then I don't know to what extent we have information available, but I know there's been a lot of questions about the Five Corners area and what's going on with that, and I don't know if you have an update for the public as it relates to, the town looking into those.
I mean, in brief, because will
Right.
involve some potential legal
Right.
matters, if you will.
But-
But the Department of Public Works and our town attorney are working on that very feverishly. I think we're going to have a resolution to that in due time. One of the biggest I'm going to say issues with looking at the difference in municipalities and what the state law allows cities to do versus towns, and in particular in Rotterdam and Schenectady County, one of the biggest things for people to know, I guess the items for people to know is that the town, when there's a piece of property that has not had its taxes paid on it or is unkempt and, let's say, abandoned, whether it's bank owned or privately owned, the town does not own that tax lien. The county owns the tax lien. So we, right there, there's a piece there that we just can't go and take action on property to do something with it right away. The other part of this discussion has to do with the structure of the building and whether or not the building poses a hazard to surrounding structures or to people. And so that is also something that has to be properly defined, and people who have experience in structural engineers and people who have the ability to give you a valuable and enforceable opinion, if you will, to the structure and whether or not you can do something, take action. That is also something that is very detailed in the law. And so for us to have an actionable and an enforceable, I'll say, in other words, action on a piece of property like that, there's a lot of steps involved to get there, but we're getting there.
So it's fair to say at this point, the town is looking into issues with some of the properties in that area that are vacant and
Yes.
may not be kept to
Yes.
what some of the residents would desire, and that our investigation's ongoing and we're taking action as deemed appropriate under the law.
In short, yes, and also, someone comes and, just to give you, so someone pulls a building permit, a clock starts, so there's an allowance of time for them to do something. Someone comes and pays for a demolition permit, same thing. So, it's not that the town's hands are necessarily tied, but there's also an allowance within the law that says, you have to give these people or the owners a chance to remedy the situation. If they don't remedy the situation, the town will take action to remedy the situation itself. And within that, you know, the town, if we do take some action on larger structures like the one that you're referring to at Five Corners, or others within the town, even residential properties we did last year with the residents on West Side Avenue. You know, there's a cost to the town to do that. And so how does the town recoup that money? Well, the town doesn't recoup that money. The county hopefully someday will recoup that money, because that really falls on the county's budget, not on ours. So we have an initial outlay of an expense to demolish or clean up a piece of property, if you will, after the actions have been taken and deemed appropriate by a judge, in essence, or by the town, if there's some ways we can do that with just property cleanup. But eventually what happens is the county makes us whole. So the town taxpayers are really not out anything, but what we are out of is a town that looks appealing. And that's a problem, particularly in the higher commercial corridors. But when you go down some of the streets in town where there are properties that have been unkept for a period of years, if the roof is intact, if the structure itself is up, and it doesn't look like it's falling outward, if you will, the structure is not, it may not be a threat, and so within the law, we only have so much that we can do, and that's really the problem for us. The cities have a different way. So in the cities, you have a paid city fire department, for example. So if the city building inspectors and the city gets together and they deem a structure unsafe, they can move to do that. The volunteer fire departments, and this is not just Rotterdam, this is other towns have the same kind of problems. It's difficult to move on some of these properties as quickly as we would like. But we're taking steps to do so.
And the important thing too is, in certain instances, we have the ability to proceed criminally as well.
Yeah.
And that, that has some bite to it. And I certainly wouldn't want to be, anyone who has to, be arrested and have to appear in court on this. So that's also something for those individuals to bear in mind.
And I would just like to note, additionally, with Resolution 23 tonight that was passed, we are moving forward with our efforts to get our new highway garage up and running, and although it might be moving a little slower than some people would hope, it is moving, and this is an effort to continue that process. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to get that onto tonight's agenda.
Yeah, it's moving, and it's important for us to keep the momentum going with this, because it's important to us as a board, important to our highway operation, if you will, in the town, to ensure that the transfer facility that is moved there immediately for the brush and leaf program that we have in the town. We have to get that up and running in March, April for the spring cleanup. So yeah, we're moving on that. So hopefully that'll be resolved shortly as well. Anyone else on? This evening? No? Okay, can we have a motion for adjournment, please?
I'll move.
Motion for adjournment by Ms. Miller-Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you very much all for coming this evening. Appreciate your time.